So just as a reminder for everyone, this is the kind of event here that it's best to clear everything else, shut down other browsers, close your email, shut off your phone. So you can really have your undivided attention. You've already dedicated time here tonight, so you might as well get the most out of it. And really this, I believe, will really shift and improve a lot of your lives in a tremendous way for the better, for moving forward. So sorry, I'm just trying to manage like 17 things at once right now before I get set up. So for those of you that are watching me on Facebook Live, you can find the link to this webinar that I'm doing right now on Facebook, and go ahead and join it, and that way you'll be able to see the actual content that I'm talking about. So, all right, adrenal fatigue. So what are the adrenal glands? The adrenal glands are small endocrine glands that contribute to the body's fight or flight mechanism. And we're going to be talking a lot about the fight or flight mechanism throughout the course of this webinar, because this is really what drives the entire thing. And they're located right near your kidneys, and very, very, very small glands, but very important for the types of hormones that they produce. So what is adrenal fatigue then? So it's a collection of signs and symptoms, which would be more accurately known as a syndrome, that results when the adrenal glands function at below the necessary level. So most commonly, this is associated with intense, or what I find clinically, it's more prolonged stress. And it can also happen during or after acute or chronic infections, because it really, as it just taxes the immune system, it leads to be more likely to, because your adrenal glands are going through stress through that. So I find prolonged stress is more really the 21st century problem from this, because with that, and what I mean by prolonged stress is that it's little bits every single day that our bodies are just not used to being able to handle. So who has adrenal fatigue? So clinically diagnosed, all right, around the world, 16% of people have been diagnosed with having it. But many studies suggest or hypothesize that upwards of 85% of people over the age of 40 could have some form of adrenal fatigue. So, which is pretty brutal. And we'll go through the symptoms of really what comes from that. So common signs and symptoms: you feel tired for no reason. And then a big one is having trouble getting out of bed in the morning, especially even when you go to bed at a normal and a reasonable hour. So, meaning you go to bed at 10 o'clock and you're like, all right, I'm going to catch up on sleep. I'm going to get, 10 hours of sleep here tonight. And then you wake up and you still have a hard time getting out of bed and getting going. So you feel easily run down or overwhelmed with your just life in general. You have a difficulty bouncing back from stress or illness. So when you get sick, you tend to be sick for a really long time, or it takes you a long time to recover. Or you might be like the one in your family. It's like everybody gets sick and then they quickly get better. And then you're the one that seems like to linger on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and sometimes even a month from there. A big one is craving sweet and salty snacks. And I'll say that salty is definitely the biggest one right there. For that, and we'll talk about that why here in a few minutes. Sweet too, for sure, but salty is a big key for that. And then you're more awake and alert, energetic after 6 p.m. than you do all day. So people commonly confuse this for like, oh, I'm a night owl. And you're not a night owl. You have adrenal fatigue, because your body is supposed to shut down, start winding down after 6 p.m. In fact, it's hormonally driven to do that, specifically in relationship with adrenal and a hormone called cortisol. So, and then another big one, is having to rely on coffee or caffeine or other sodas, things like that, to give energy, especially in the morning and also throughout the day. So, I'm not talking about those like, oh, I love coffee because it's just part of your routine and it's part of like just your life and just part of like the joy that you have, in the morning. I'm talking about like people that are like, I freaking need coffee or I'm going to eat someone's face. Okay. Or I'm not getting my pants on right as we get out the door. So that drive for caffeine is your adrenal glands that are suffering, and they're looking for extra stimulants, extra adrenaline, essentially, to be able to help drive it to the next level. So again, if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, that's great, but you're seeing my face when you could be seeing this as far as what I'm actually talking about. So this is my behind the scenes here on that. So go ahead and register for that. You can follow look at my profile, and you can see the link on how to see the screen of what I'm watching. I'm going to be logging off on this soon too, by the way, so I can concentrate better. So the main causes of adrenal fatigue here, okay, are going to be life stress, and then also physiological stresses. I'm going to go over the difference of those. So again, we kind of talked about this, but life stress would be things like work, kids, finances, being in rush hour traffic. The human body was not designed to sit in a car under a high stress situation, stop and go, trying to make it to work, putting your clothes or your makeup on while you're going. We weren't designed to do that. All right. Lines in grocery stores, waiting for your coffee drink. They get your coffee drink wrong. They get they forget to put your eggs in your grocery bag, making deadlines. So for work and getting things done on time, taxes, right? Paying bills, and just like having you open up your mail, it's like there's another bill in there. Having to do any public speaking or not sleeping enough. And there's just really so much more. But those are kind of just the main ones. Now, physiological stress would be things like coming from bad foods, whether you have maybe an allergy or a sensitivity to certain foods. You might have certain immune challenges like chronic bacterial infections, chronic low-grade viral infections, fungus, parasites, things like that. So, in regards to the virus, I can't tell you how many people, when we test or look at their blood work, that they actually have something like the HPV virus, or they might also have the herpes, which is that's HPV. What's the other one? It's a mono, and then the monovirus. I forget the technical term right now. But so their body has been keeping it suppressed and fighting that for God knows how long, in some cases decades. So it really taxes the body and shuts it down like crazy. So electromagnetic frequencies, aka the thing that I'm holding in my hand right now, the computer, right? The lights, and just everything, around us here is that electromagnetic frequency. It's part of the world that we live in, but our bodies were not designed to deal with it to the degree that we do. And it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. We're just starting to see the tip of the iceberg come out on how damaging these things are to our bodies, reproductive wise, brain wise, and all that. It just messes with us. And then also, of course, chemicals. So things like in our soap, our shampoo, toothpaste, laundry detergents, medications, having, bad water, like tap water, or not clean water, and, scents and things like that with perfumes. So moving on. So this is a body typing. So, obviously this is not perfect, but this is pretty common. I mean, I'd see this, and I think, if you think about yourself, or you might find that there's common trends and patterns with this. So on the one on the left is the person that's going to have the majority of the weight around the midsection, okay? Because what happens is that when cortisol kicks in, that hormone will actually, it's a stress response. So it actually helps you negate the stress response, but it'll cause fat to build up on your most vital organs, which are of course, in your midsection, right? Stomach, liver, gallbladder, lungs, right? Heart, a little bit higher up, but it's in there, spleen, pancreas, and all that. So it's a protective mechanism because your body is perceiving all the stress. So it's putting fat around it as a protective layer. All right. It's the right thing at the right time and for the right reason based on what you're doing. But the problem is that you're not removing the cause of why all these things are happening. So then you can see the one after that is more of the pear-shaped. I guess that you would call that, which is the ovary type. So that's typically an estrogen dominance problem, or a progesterone deficiency problem will tend to look like that. Thyroid type is more of, I don't know, what would you call that? More of like a triangle shape, maybe. It kind of just gradually gets wider as it goes down, but it's not necessarily bulging out in the front. It's just sort of just all the way around. Because the thyroid gland is it's just basically anywhere fat can accrue, it will, because the thyroid is not regulating metabolism. And then liver type, and when you hear like the term beer belly in people, it's because it's the liver is being swollen, it's creating fluid issues, all right, and all kinds of stuff. So those are the body types. So you can see the kind of say, well, how big a issue or where is my endocrine system at? And you can kind of get an idea just based on the shape of your body and what's going on with it. Now, in terms of blood sugar, okay, in terms of blood sugar, so between your meals, so you eat food, blood sugar goes up, right? And then after that, it gradually starts going down again, especially in a normal environment. As a backup mechanism, your adrenals will signal the liver to stimulate the release of glucose back into the blood to raise your blood glucose levels back to normal. So you get that hypoglycemic drop, so it goes down. And then what'll happen is your liver is like, oh, like I can help here. So it's going to trigger what's called gluconeogenesis, create sugar out of it, right? And out of your within your liver itself, and to raise your blood sugar goes up. So if your adrenal glands aren't functioning properly, you can see how this is going to have a major impact on your blood sugar and overall health. And pretty much every single diabetic or pre-diabetic is going to have a adrenal issue, because if your adrenal glands are functioning, perfectly or near perfectly, it will be able to help you compensate for those blood sugar spikes and drops. Okay, so if you're pre-diabetic or you're diabetic and you're watching this webinar right now, like, well, one of the things you can start doing, well, you're here first of all, which is great, but one of the things you need to start doing is supporting your adrenals along with fixing your nutrition and fixing, your adrenal glands. Okay. So the main hormone that we'll talk about is cortisol with this. So cortisol is one of many hormones that's produced by your adrenal glands, but it's the main one we really focus on as far as it's reflecting the overall health of your adrenal glands. So cortisol, which is also known as the stress hormone, which, you can automatically sort of, sink back into your medical thinking and be like, all right, well, this must mean my body doing the wrong thing. Kind of like cholesterol is the wrong hormone. It's like, well, your body makes cholesterol, so it's not, God put it in there for a reason. It has a purpose. Cortisol has a purpose too, but when we have all these stressors going on, it's going to be going all over the place. So what happens is that cortisol starts going up in the morning, all right, and it increases around noon, it'll peak, all right, and then around 3 o'clock it starts dipping down, and then 6 o'clock here, kind of the magic number, then your body begins to dramatically shift into a rest and recovery period. Now, between 6 and 9, what we're finding is, as far as the light frequencies, and actually I'm not following my own rules right now. I need to have my UV, my blue blocker glasses on here. You need to start dimming down the lights and, start decreasing the amount of technological sharpness, like the brightness of your screen, okay? I have an app on my computer called Flux, F.Lux, right here. It's a free app, and it allows you to, it gradually shifts down the brightness of your computer screen as you're doing it. So I have it disabled right now because I'm not even be able to see what I'm looking at there, but you can still see and still work and do all that if you work late on the computer or like to, watch cat videos or whatever it is late at night. But so that's a good app to have, though, just a side note. Physical repair then is going to start happening around 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that's super important. And then you get your psychological repair that happens after that. So your cortisol actually then so it drops down to its very, very, very lowest part, and then it gradually picks up, all right, and then again starts increasing till when the sun comes up around 6 o'clock. So your body has this, very distinct, healthy, natural rhythm that it follows, again, when it is working and functioning properly, all right? So cortisol is your friend, but we abuse it because of all the stress that we are under. So what causes cortisol? So we talked about some of these here, but I'm gonna go over a few more. So again, the stress, certain nutrient deficiencies, like salt is one of them. Lack of sleep, so getting less than 7 hours more than 4 to 5 nights a week. Having low blood sugar, which would be really a sign of insulin resistance. Food sensitivities. Again, low-grade infections like Candida, H. pylori, mono, right? HPV, HIV, all those things, MCV, all right? Gut dysbiosis, so like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or leaky gut would also be in there. Working out for longer than 30 minutes. So heavy, intense workouts going longer than 30 minutes, they found your cortisol levels start spiking like crazy because it's responding to the stress of the workout. Not that a workout's bad, right? But when you go too hard, too long, it causes damage. And then again, like I said, leaky gut. So what this causes is it causes your immune system to be suppressed. You have more allergies and infections. Mornings are rough. Evenings are better, typically. So again, the whole night owl thing is not anything to do with your personality. It's the way your body has become forced to adapt and function due to poor. I shouldn't say you can't be a night owl, but I'm saying that it's more likely a physiological thing than a psychological thing. Only sleeping for like a day a half a day or more is like really what it takes for you to feel well. So like, let's say you'll go on vacation and you're like, oh, I'm at the beach. All I want to do is sleep. And so you go to bed at like 8 and you don't wake up till like 8 or 10 the next day. Those are the only mornings when you ever feel refreshed, is when you get that much sleep. But that's just not realistic in most people's normal day life. You have less short-term memory recall. Your cognitive function starts going down. Your stamina's down, your muscle tone starts going down, your bones are getting weaker, your mood sucks, you're grumpy, right? Your sex drive is gone or almost non-existent, okay? Your digestive system starts going crazy. So you're like, man, I have a little bit of all of that, or that sounds like I know everybody that I have that has that. Well, you're right. Because we live in America, we live in this stressful society, we live in the environment we do, and it's really brutal on people, okay? So, yeah, like this is everybody. And so the adrenal glands we like to call them the whipping boys, like whipping, and meaning because they just take the brunt of everything and all things and everything in our life, especially, in terms of stress. So here's how you test the adrenals. And I'm going to be able to give you two, luckily, that you're going to be able to do at your house tonight, or most of you will be able to do at your house, to get an idea of how your adrenals are functioning, which is kind of cool. So the first is the most accurate one, which is going to be a salivary reading. So saliva testing, because that's going to look at your free form of cortisol and another hormone called DHEA, which I'm not going to talk about, but that's the precursor to cortisol. So saliva helps to differentiate the level of adrenal function. So are you in adrenal phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? Are you in adrenal fatigue or adrenal exhaustion or an adrenal collapse? Big difference for all those different treatment protocols based on where you fall in that. And again, because cortisol, remember, it changes throughout the day, okay? With that, as it changes throughout the day, we read it, okay, at 4 different times throughout the day, because a person could theoretically be normal in the morning, and they're like, oh, I feel good, but then they start crashing in the afternoon, or they don't sleep well, and it's because their cortisol is tanking at a certain part throughout the day, so we got to figure that out. All right, so that's why we do it 4 times throughout the day, because then we got to pinpoint exactly when the dysfunction is happening. It also knows when to do the supplementation, to do the strategies to fix your adrenals, because it doesn't make sense to support them when they're good. You want to support them when they need the support itself. So Ragland's test. I love this test. Those of you that are more recent patients in my clinic, Heather most likely did this on you during your nutrition consult. And it's a kind of a specialized blood pressure test, and it relates called the orthostatic blood pressure test. So here's how you do it, all right? So for your baseline, you're going to take the systolic and diastolic blood pressure readings in a sitting position, all right? So sit for about 5 minutes, take your reading. Which, by the way, if you don't have a blood pressure cuff, you can now get like professional grade ones on Amazon for like $40 or $50. I think it's good to have, because it's good to know how certain things affect your blood pressure. Even if I don't have high blood pressure, well, you might be having high blood pressure in certain scenarios, or even after you eat certain foods, your blood pressure could go up, and it's an indicator that what you just ate is stressing your body out, and can kind of give you an idea on food sensitivity. So just honestly, for $40, it's an easy tool you can have at your house to be knowing how your body is responding on a regular basis, okay? So if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can go ahead and like this and share this, please. And also, if you have not hopped on the webinar, make sure you do that, because you can see, then you'll be able to see the screen that I'm talking about here. Okay, so you get your baseline, And then after that, step number 2 is you're going to lie on your back, and after laying there for several minutes, you're going to take your blood pressure while you're laying down. So supine means laying face up, okay? That's just the scientific term for it. And then you record that. Now you're going to leave the blood, after you get that recording, you're going to leave the blood pressure cuff on your arm and immediately stand up. So you're going to go from lying down to standing up, and you're going to take your blood pressure again immediately after you stand up and record that, okay? It's very important that you take it right away, because what we're doing, the orthostatic means that we're changing the position of that, and then we're going to watch what happens with it. So normally when you go from sitting to lying on your back, there's the top number, the systolic number, is going to drop 6 to 10 points, okay, compared to your sitting. So if you're at, let's say, 120 when you're sitting, it could go down to 110 when you lay down, all right? Or if it's at 150, go down to 145, something like that. So if your supine reading, so again, laying down reading, goes up by more than 10 points over the sitting, so if you go from 120 to 130, what that's doing, it's kind of testing your, well, really your kidneys. So it could indicate kidney issues. So really you could find something very quickly and very easily about your one of your organ systems based on easy blood pressure tests, all right? So again, then it's like, okay, what do I do about my kidneys? We go from there, all right? Now, if your adrenal glands are working perfectly or properly, your blood pressure, the top number is going to rise 6 to 10 millimeters, okay? So 6 to 10 points from laying down to standing. So if you lay down, you're 110, it's going to go back up to, let's say, no more than 120, all right? Now, if it drops 5 points or less, so let's say it goes from 110 down to 105, you're experiencing minor adrenal weakness, okay? So kind of probably adrenal fatigue. If it drops 5 to 10 points, your adrenals are in worse shape. And if it drops more than 10 points, you are bordering adrenal failure, all right? If it drops over 20 points, it's considered chronic adrenal fatigue, okay? So the greater the drop, the greater the degree of adrenal fatigue. So don't go run and do that right now. Do this after the webinar here, but see, this is a ridiculously easy test. Now, it doesn't necessarily tell us why you're having it or when the problem is and all that stuff, but it's just an easy test you can do on your own with a $40 blood pressure cuff. Everybody's going to ask us in the office to do it next week, and you'll have to make an appointment to get that done, all right, if you don't have a blood pressure cuff, but you can do that on your own. All right, the next one is what's called the pupillary. Pupillary. That's what you get when you're a dad with young kids. You're working with poop a lot. So pupillary contraction test. Oh, that's funny. Must be the end of the weekend. So pupillary contraction test. All right. Now, how you do this test is that you're going to be in your, let's say your bathroom, a room where you can completely make it dark. All right. And then you're going to shut off the lights and allow your eyes to adjust. Okay. And then you're going to kind of like hold your phone down by your feet, or as low as you can hang, and you're going to turn on the flashlight on your phone, or just have a flashlight in general. All right. And when you do, so you're going to turn that on, and then what you can do is you're going to look in the mirror. All right. And you're going to hold your phone, and you're going to watch to see what your pupil does. It should normally constrict, right? With light, it's going to constrict and shrink, okay? So it's going to go from being nice and big and wide because it's dark in your eye, is going to open up to let more light in. And then when you shine the light in it, it's going to immediately go like this, okay? It's going to constrict, all right? And to not allow the light in. Now, I'm going to show this video here that you're going to get an idea. It's a little bit blurry, but you're going to get an idea of what a pupil that is having an issue constricting is going to look like. So let me go ahead and play this. So you see how it's kind of opening and closing a little bit. See how it's fluttering. It's not a lot, but it's, oh, there you go. You can see it really big time there. It's fluttering back and forth like crazy. The guy put the light really in there. So I'm going to play that one more time so you can kind of get an idea what you'll be looking for in yourself. So you can see opening, closing, kind of holding steady, opening, closing. See that? It's fluttering. Oh, big time right there is when it goes like crazy. All right, so that is just because the light is kind of perceived as a stress on your body. It's a reflection. Again, not ridiculously accurate. You know, you could go in your bathroom and pass this test and you still have adrenal issues, all right? Or vice versa. There are false positives and false negatives, but it is just it's a free tool that you can do on yourself to check to see if it's a possibility that your symptoms or what's going on with you might be related to that. So just cool, easy test on that. Are there any questions about that test? You can go ahead and type it on Facebook here, either of those two tests, or in the chat section on the webinar. Before I move on from that. Okay, very good. So the most accurate way to test for this is going to be a salivary cortisol test, all right? By far the biggest one, okay? So from this is a actual sample reading of one of my patients that we did. So you can see that we tested the adrenal and the 4 cortisol readings. So we did one in the morning, at noon, in the evening, at nighttime, because there's a different pattern with that. So you can see the dark green kind of section is going to be optimal adrenal function, all right? And then the light green is going to signify you're in adrenal fatigue. In the red section is going to be actually adrenal. These people are wired and tired, so it's actually adrenal. It'll spike up because that's more of a short-term high stress response. The blue is going to be adrenal exhaustion or collapse. So, for example, this person, when I saw this, I literally was like, "Hey, guess what? I know exactly how you feel when you feel." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "You feel okay in the morning," and she's like, "Yep." "You feel terrible after lunch," and she's like, "Yep." She's like, and I'm like, "You start feeling a little bit better around dinner time." She's like, "Yeah." And then you start feeling horrible and you have a hard time sleeping at nighttime. She's like, "How did you know that?" Well, because when you look at the graph, all right, so here the dot here, it's in a decent spot, not great, all right, but then see it approaches the blue and adrenal exhaustion, all right, or massive fatigue at lunchtime. It rallies a little bit. It's actually, she's like, "I feel the best at evening time," and then it tanks in the middle of the night. So it's disrupting her sleep pattern from that as well. So this is a test that we do in our office. You do it, well, I should say you do it at your house, but we have it available in our office. Normally it's $300 to test that. And the reason why I like that is if you're really suspecting you have an adrenal issue, we got to know what your baseline is, because there's no way to know if you're really coming out of it until we have a baseline for it and to also know what's going on. So what I did is in the chat section there, or it might be popping on the right side of your screen there. If you want to do this testing, you can go ahead and just click on that link, schedule my testing, all right? And it's going to take you to a place where you can put your name and your email and a message on there, and we'll make sure to contact you to schedule a time. If you're a patient, you can do it when you're during one of your adjustments, or if you're not a patient, we can do this long distance too. So I can actually mail you a kit easily, and we can do a virtual consultation like this right here. Pretty easily. So just follow that link if you're interested in doing that. Otherwise, if you have more questions, you can always email me with that too. So I'll leave that up for a few minutes and I'm going to move on. All right. So here's how you improve your adrenals. This is just some easy tips that you can do on your own. All right. So number one is sleep. All right. This is by far or one of the top two anyways. The goal is to be asleep before 9:30, all right, or at least be in bed before 9:30, all right, because you got to take advantage of that time before 1 to 3 a.m. because that's when, if you have adrenal fatigue, that's when you're going to wake up because your body's like freaking out, all right. So you got to be able to get as much sleep before that period hits, otherwise, it's disrupting everything. So you can't go to bed late with adrenal fatigue and expect to get out of it. You just won't. The goal also is to sleep until 9 a.m. whenever possible. And I know for most of you that's not possible right now, but like we're talking weekends here, vacation, things like that. So it's kind of a magic number because you're just going to get more restful sleep between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. if you have adrenal fatigue, because your cortisol levels are likely starting to rally a little bit, unless you're in total collapse. But that's probably not most of you with that. So sleep until 9 whenever you can, and again, just to get out of that system a little bit. It's ideal to get 10 to 15 minutes. If you can't sleep until 9 a.m., or even if you can, this is what you want to do, both of them, is that you want to get 10 to 15 minutes of rest around 10 a.m. and also between 3 and 5 p.m. if possible, because those are most likely the periods where you're tanking. And so if you get a little extra rest right there, that will help. All right. So it could be as simple as shutting your eyes, putting some headphones on, putting a little quick meditation on there. I recommend the app Headspace, all one word, Headspace, Headspace. They have 10-minute little guided meditations that are really great. And they actually help beginners. Like I'm a total beginner when it comes to meditation, but they walk you through how to do it. It's brilliant. I've definitely noticed a change in just my mental clarity since doing that. Nutrition plan needs to avoid carbs, moderate your protein, have lots of healthy fats, which is what we always teach, is no different. So it's just not only for weight loss, but it's for healthy living too. So you can, if you need to know more about what the actual nutrition plan is, I'm not going to go over that tonight to save time, but you can go on my YouTube channel and you can see many nutritional seminars that I've done before that talk about that. Okay. So prayer, meditation, breathing exercises, that's pretty self-explanatory. I kind of talked about that already. All right, here's a big one, an easy one, salt. So your adrenal glands need salt in order to have the proper minerals to function, particularly sodium and chloride, so which is salt, right? Table salt, NaCl. So a good way to help improve your sleep at nighttime, especially again if you're in that 1 to 3 a.m. Just death section, is going to be that you want to start with 1 teaspoon of sea salt in warm water before you go to bed, room temperature, so you can just kind of mix it up easily and drink that right before you go to bed. And then gradually, you want to work your way up to 2 or eventually a tablespoon, tablespoon and a half. And the reason why you work your way up is because if you do too much salt than your body is used to, you might have a bowel flush, which is a good way to clean out your bowels if you need to do that. But that's probably not what you're going here in this situation. So again, the way to improve, another main thing to do is identify your level of adrenal fatigue so we can know how hard we got to go after it. And then also getting chiropractic adjustments as well, because that is going to help to break your body out of the cycle of the fight or flight response. And again, I'll talk about that more in a few minutes here. So I'm closing down the offer here for the salivary cortisol testing. All right. But you can always email me if you have more questions about that. So as far as supplements go, here's Adrenal Energy. So this is going to be just the main easy one that I recommend. So these would be people that would be kind of in the mild to moderate adrenal fatigue. And what it does is it stimulates the brain to support the production of dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, which are the hormones related to the adrenal gland. So it helps to kind of lift it up and boost it up. It also includes a glandular, which provides 100% all-natural boost to your adrenal glands. It contains tyrosine, a cortisol regulator, which also helps with concentration and focus, okay? And then also it has something called PABA, which helps with cortisol and adrenal enhancement without hyperstimulating it. So without, jacking up like crazy, like, when you get caffeine, you get jittery. It doesn't do that to you. And I would say that 80% of people that have an adrenal issue of any kind are going to have or benefit from this supplement right here. Another one we have in our office is just called Adrenal Energy. Now this is called Adrenal Complex, and I put this on here because you can order this online right now, no matter where you're at or when you plan on coming in through the link provided there. So if you type in the promo code FIRST20, all right, when you check out through the link and you click on purchase now, it takes you to the webpage. You will get 20% off it today, which is great. And there's also free shipping and you don't pay tax. So in my office, you got to pay tax. It's stupid. It's like 6% or something, state of North Carolina, blah, So this way you can get you're actually saving 26% technically because you're not having to pay tax on my office and you're getting a discount from it as well. So honestly, people tell me sometimes I feel a little bit like a crack dealer with these types of adrenal supplements, because people that will start taking them and they'll immediately feel better, like crazy better. And they're like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to have my vitality back. I feel so much better. Don't ever run out is what they'll say to me actually after that. So Adrenal Energy, all right, is a fantastic one from there. Now, there's going to be a few of you who are going to fall more in the like the wired and tired category. So those of you that people with adrenal fatigue can typically fall asleep pretty well. But again, you're going to wake up between 1 and 3 a.m. when your adrenal glands start freaking out. But there's going to be a smaller percentage of you guys who lay in bed and your mind is like going, but you're super tired at the same time. Like you're like, all I want to do is sleep, but your mind is going freaking bananas, okay, with that. So this is called adrenal calm. And this one calms the brain, and it has what's in there, something called valerian root, which helps to sleep and relax. And there's also passion flower in there, which promotes calmness and relaxation, promotes deep and restful sleep. All right, and there's many other things in there as well. So again, this is for the ones that are more wired and tired. And so I'm going to put that little link up there for you guys for whoever would be fall under that category. Okay, for that. So again, you're the ones who lay in bed, you're tired and you want to go to sleep, but your mind is going bananas and you're like, I got to do this, 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 and this. Or what about this? Well, this person said this to me the other day. And what do they mean by that? Or my husband did this, or I got this 15 projects to do, or you know what? I think I left the light on downstairs. Did I leave the light downstairs? I'm too tired to get out of bed to know if I left the light on downstairs. So I'm just going to stay in bed. But meanwhile, your mind is going at 100 miles an hour and you could have just gotten up and turned the light off, right? So that's for those people, all right? And if you have that, I just nailed you and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you're welcome. And there's the solution for you. So enjoy a night's sleep coming very soon. Okay, fight or flight. So we talked about this here a little bit in the beginning and really kind of, again, what sort of drives this whole process. Your body, when it's under a stressful situation, is always going to be evaluating, do I need to fight in this situation or flight, okay? And that is run by something called your sympathetic nervous system, which is a section of your nervous system. The antagonist to the sympathetic is called the parasympathetic system, all right, which is the rest and digest one. But fight or flight. So most practical application of this is if we think evolutionary, we think about you're out hunting, let's say, and all of a sudden a saber-toothed tiger jumps up on you, okay? And it just gets you, all right? And you're like, oh my gosh, saber-toothed tiger. And you're immediately, your muscles tense, blood starts flowing like crazy because you need to be able to run like crazy, all right? Or let's say you're in a supermarket. Actually, bad example here lately. But let's just say someone holds you up at gunpoint, and immediately your body goes into a specific state because it's perceiving that stress. That would be a flight response. Or it's like, okay, let's say it's something that like somebody's like yelling at you in the parking lot, or they're trying to like attack your kid or something like that, whatever it is, I don't know. That's going to then help you to get the emotions and get the physiology to fight then, all right, to react. So it's going to give you kind of one of those two things there. Now, this fight or flight thing is going all day long in 21st century America because we're getting all these stress signals literally from the time we wake up. It's like we get up and it's like, well, and it's like, oh, let me check my phone. 17 emails and 4 of them are horrible, right? Then you turn on the news when you're making breakfast and you're not even sitting down to eat breakfast and you're making all kinds of crap food. And then you're turning on the news and it's like horrific things happening in London and horrific things happening in Manchester, terrorist attacks. And it's like, oh, Trump said this, or this happened in this city, in this country, or oh, the stock market went down again. So there goes my 401k. And it's like, then you get in your car and you're driving to a job that you hate. And it's like rush hour, bumper to bumper. Maybe it starts raining and now you're having to grip a little bit tighter because people suck at driving and they're texting while they're driving. And then you're drinking your coffee because you're already getting your energy to drop down. And you're like, oh man, I should really get a donut and some quick energy to get this up. So then you pull over at Dunkin' Donuts, you get a donut, you eat that, you keep going to work, and then you get to work and you have a stack of work this thick on your desk when you get there, and it's like, crap, I'm not even gonna get a half of this done here today, and it's just gonna keep piling. And then your boss is yelling at you and mad at you because you're not reaching your quota, you're not getting your jobs done, and then your wife calls you, midway through the morning and says, hey, your son just punched another kid in the face, or he bit the fingers, or he wet his pants, or whatever the case may be. So you go deal with that. And then it's like you're driving home and you know what I'm saying? Like this is our lives that we live in. And well, although none of those issues will kill us, all right, in and of themselves, the chronic accumulation of all those little things add up and they just steadily destroy our bodies and just crush it. Especially because we are living poor lifestyles and not giving our body the support and the vitality to be able to withstand it, okay? So that's a fight or flight. So the number one thing here that is going to be related to that is going to be your nervous system. So if you're an existing patient, this is why every single time I adjust you, we adjust you in the T12 area, which is in your mid-back area, because those are the nerves that go to your adrenal glands. I don't have to ask you if you're stressed out. I know you're stressed out, right? You're not like stressed out like, oh my God, but you're stressed out as in your body is stressed out. So we always hit that area to be able to support your adrenal glands functioning, which is why 99% of you, after you get adjusted, you're going to be like, oh, I feel a little bit better. Oh, I always feel like more positive when I walk out of, or I get a better night's sleep after I get adjusted. It's because, among many other things, we're making sure that your nervous system is fighting and functioning the way that it's supposed to. So one of the many things, or one of the many, many, many things that subluxation, which the misalignment of the spine does to your body, is that it shuts down your ability to have a normal fight or flight response. Because if it's hitting your adrenal glands, it can't produce what it's supposed to. So if this nerve right here is being choked going into your adrenal glands, which those glands have nerve supply, well, then how well do you think your adrenal glands are going to function? They're not, right? They're going to just slowly shut down and not give you what you need. And you're going to wonder why you feel worse and worse every single day, and your life is getting worse and worse and worse. So this is one of the many benefits of getting of chiropractic adjustments for the rest of your life, is helping your fight or flight response and making sure that your body can heal and function the way that it's supposed to. So get stinking adjusted if you're not. If you have not been adjusted before, or you're not under chiropractic care right now, then I would highly encourage you to make sure you get evaluated. All right. Now, if you're not in the Raleigh, kind of Durham, Cary area, Nightdale, whatever, let me know. You can message me. You can email me, and I can find you a doctor that does what we do in your area. Or if you are local here in that area and like to get evaluated, normally a complete nervous system evaluation, so we don't just look at your adrenal system, but we look at your complete nervous system, is around $220. But anybody that comes on our webinars or comes to our live seminars, we give the maximum legal discount to, which is 60% off. And what that number comes out to be is $88. All right. So $88 covers a full exam, a history, full spine x-rays, because we got to be able to dive down inside and see exactly where those areas are being affected. And then we make a care plan for you and figure out exactly what we need to do to help you out. And you get lifestyle coaching and customized nutrition plan based on what's going on with you, all to make you be as healthy as possible. Okay. So I am going to leave 15. I went fast because I wanted to respect everybody's time that hopped on here tonight. So what we're going to do is I'm going to leave a few minutes here for questions on adrenal glands and our adrenal system, or I guess anything else too if you need it. Otherwise, you can sign off and sayonara, and hopefully this was of value to you. If you have something, I'm thinking I'm doing thyroid next, either thyroid or toxicity for a webinar. I haven't decided yet. So if you have a preference, you can put it on there. So one other thing here too, I mentioned at the beginning, is that we have a informational weight loss session coming up at the end of the month on June 27th. We are launching a new weight loss program in our office, a very systematic, a very structured, a very amazing, actually, nutrition program that is going to be very similar to some of the things that you've heard before from me, but it's actually packaged together in a way that someone much smarter than me did. So it's literally a 90-day eating guide, a few very specific supplements that target your hormones and your metabolism. And we're finding that people are losing in 90 days easily 20 to 40 pounds. And more importantly, they're keeping it off. So I'm not